Happy Tuesday, everyone. Nice and sunny out. The weather's about to change. It's starting to really feel like fall out there. But still nice to have the sunshine after yesterday's dreary gray day. I'm Ronnie Dahl here in the studios alongside Tyler Keefe. Thank you for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast. Tyler, how was your Monday?
Not bad. Other than the, as you said, droopy weather outside, the gray, cloudy, rainy day, not too bad.
But it's a good day. I use those days to be able to do things inside the house because I feel like this time of year when the weather is nice, you have to get outside. Because you know your time is limited and it's just going to be
sometimes on my late days, sometimes on my late days here when it's nice and sunny outside and I'm in the middle of something, I just take a break and stare out the window into the void for a few minutes and enjoy the sunny weather.
You should get out and go over to the playground, swing a little.
I think that would be frowned upon. I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, great to have everyone with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. For those just tuning in for the first time, although I think by now, 7 months into this nearly, people are pretty familiar what we do here on the Megacast. Tyler and I here in the studios Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, bringing you long-form interviews with interesting people and decision makers throughout the greater West Bloomfield area and the state of Michigan as we continue to focus on the coronavirus, COVID-19, and making it to the other side of this pandemic. Tyler, 7 months into this, I would imagine when you guys started this, were there any discussions for the end date?
Not entirely initially, but as we got into it, we thought, okay, well, a couple months into this, we'll probably be at a point where we're coasting along at the very worst, and maybe these won't have to be a daily thing or even a weekly thing necessarily. We can go back to just being periodic updates, but it snowballed. That says the least, I'd say.
And but things do continue to change each and every day, and because decisions are still being made as this virus is still very much a part of our community, and I think it will be until that vaccine is not only made, but then also widely distributed as well. So still so much to do here as we try to navigate COVID-19. And quickly, let's go ahead and bring you up to date on some of the latest headlines some of the news making headlines this morning. The Michigan Supreme Court, no big surprise here. Michigan Supreme Court yesterday strikes down the governor's executive orders effective immediately. And that was a 4-3 decision. Pretty much just added an exclamation mark to the October 2nd ruling. New emergency orders that the Whitmer administration has issued through the state health department director, though, which pretty much replicates mask requirements, restrictions on gathering sizes, and restaurant capacity, among other features, are not affected by the court's ruling. The court, though, did deny the request from Whitmer to stay the decision for a few weeks. The court's decision leaves open many avenues for our governor and legislature to work together in a cooperative spirit and constitutional manner to respond to the COVID-19 pandemic, the order said. I will say from the very beginning, unless otherwise specified in a court order as to a date, typically it means immediately. So I don't understand why the thought and the discussion was that it could go until the date that she put on it and who was advising her on this. But we had talked about this before as well, Tyler. It was chaos when this decision came down on the Friday afternoon back on October 2nd, and then, okay, everything's lifted. It's not lifted. No, it's still in effect for 3 weeks, and this, that, and the other. I just didn't understand why there wasn't more clarification from the very beginning, where they didn't have, hey, if this happens, we have plan A, B, and C in place. If this happens, we have C, D, and E in place. And it left so much confusion for everyone in the community.
Yeah, I think the 3 week we have 21 days after the ruling to figure this out, or these executive orders remain in place for 21 days after the date of this ruling by the court. That whole argument was simply to be able to push the conversation forward and continue it on for as long as it could possibly go. It didn't go very long, when a little bit over a week after that, before this secondary decision by the court that confirms that it is struck down immediately. And if nothing else, this means it is now crunch time for the legislature and the governor to get to work and figure this out, because here they've had well over a week since they knew that these orders were going away. And I don't know if they were both banking on it being an extra 21 days or what, but we haven't heard anything from Lansing about what the state's response is going to be, what they're going to do to continue to address the COVID-19 pandemic, which is far from over. So Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever the case may be, it's time for them to get to work and figure this out, because the executive orders are out. The Supreme Court has made its decision. The Supreme Court has spoken. And now it's time for you, in this representative democracy we have in the state of Michigan, to represent the people.
Well said, Tyler. Well said.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
We're paying them. You're getting paid with our tax dollars to work for us, so get to work.
Do something.
The experts are disputing the Senate Majority Leader's herd immunity comment in response to a comment from Michigan Senate Majority Leader Mike Shirkey. 5 public health experts said Monday a COVID-19 strategy based around herd immunity could lead to 4 times as many deaths linked to the virus as the state has already reported. The governor is a Democrat. Shirkey is a Republican. They've clashed for months now over Whitmer's restrictions to combat the spread of COVID-19. The Senate leader has said his caucus won't support a mandate that people wear a mask. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention defines community immunity as a situation in which a sufficient proportion of a population is immune to an infectious disease through vaccination or prior illness to make it spread from person to person unlikely. We got to keep in mind that these experts that came out in support, basically backing up the governor, they have been advising the governor throughout this pandemic. She put the letter out. There is also news there are other doctors who do kind of back this herd immunity argument, although some people say that's unethical for them to do so.
I mean, at some point you're going to reach the point of herd immunity. It's a matter of getting there in a safe manner. And I would think at this point in time, with the way we see the virus continue to be spreading throughout the state of Michigan, when we do have those spikes throughout the rest of the country in hotbed areas that are having similar spikes or even more significant spikes, that the limited spread, and the key word, the operative word there being limited spread person to person, is simply not there. So sure, we can eventually reach the point of herd immunity, but opening the floodgates and letting it happen naturally at this point in time is probably not the best idea.
Well, but remember back in the day, they really were basically saying, hey, this might be for a couple weeks just so that our healthcare system isn't overwhelmed.
Right.
Well, the healthcare system isn't overwhelmed now. So at what point in time do they start to release the restrictions? And those are obviously decisions for people much higher than our pay grade with more knowledge about infectious diseases than us. But are you going to continue this for another year, another 2 years?
I think it ultimately comes down to how taxed could our healthcare system be if we just let this go right now and let herd immunity, community immunity, take its course. Is that going to present a situation where that herd immunity does happen relatively swiftly or in a relatively efficient manner, or is that going to potentially lead to a situation that once again overwhelms our healthcare systems, either in the state or throughout the country, in which case we're right back where we were in March? It's a balance that you have to consider, and one outcome is annoying, the other one is deadly.
There you go. Coronavirus is still spreading through our schools as they reopen. Michigan recorded 26 new COVID-19 outbreaks in schools and universities within the last week, affecting at least 124 people, according to data from the State Department of Health and Human Services. While 20 pre-kindergarten to grade 12 schools made the latest list, most have small numbers of cumulative cases. Overall, a total of 116 students and staff are affected in the latest outbreaks, including 3 in Macomb County, 1 each in Oakland and Wayne County. 6 colleges and universities were also on the list of new outbreaks. The department, as you remember, began identifying schools with outbreaks in mid-September. Now, this is only new outbreaks. This isn't ongoing outbreaks, but we did put a link to a list of all the schools on civiccentertv.com if someone wants to go ahead and click on there and take a look for yourselves as to all of the schools, where they are, and how many outbreaks in each school as well. This, of course, was a push from the public for the state of Michigan to be a little bit more transparent in the outbreaks in some of the schools.
Yeah, and they're definitely being a lot more transparent than they had been previously. They need to continue to be more transparent, I would think. I think people especially want to see where the numbers that are being referred to as the science from the governor's office and her team are at, because obviously that's public information that they're using in order to make these public decisions as our representatives in government. And I think that's the kind of transparency people are really aiming for. But any move toward transparency in this case is going to be welcomed, and I think that's certainly the case with these school outbreaks, being able to track where we're at during this course of the school year, with some schools being hybrid, some schools being entirely in person, and others being entirely virtual.
You made a good point there. It is public information. It's our information. Yeah. We're paying for this information. Right. We are the public. But I find it interesting throughout all of this, at certain times they would announce certain businesses or restaurants where outbreaks were occurring, but not releasing the information on other ones. So if you put in a FOIA, which is a Freedom of Information Act request, which, by the way, is open to everyone in the public, yes, not just the media or not just attorneys. But if you put in a FOIA, they'll redact it saying, hey, we don't release that out of the privacy. But yet you're doing it for some, not for others. And I think that's where people start to get a little bit confused on some of the things, because, as you said, the information is public information, but it's the picking and the choosing that's been confusing for some people, that kind of just, leads into the, are you being transparent during all of this? We're not saying they're not. Right. It just kind of leads to that argument.
Yeah, and it made me, and that kind of stuff always made me question, well, are you calling out these businesses and making an example of them to prove that the regulations in place are proper and are working and prevent the spread of coronavirus? Or are these such serious situations that the public needs to know how serious things got because of either negligence on the part of the business or serious mistakes and lapses in the protocols that these businesses were putting in place? Or are you making an example to prove your point, which is inherently a political decision and is frankly just dumb and not productive? Whereas you can release the information on a broad scale and make your argument, and the people can either check those numbers and see if they believe your argument or not, and determine for themselves whether or not they believe your argument. And there's some validity and transparency there.
Yeah, for me, I'm like, kind of put it on a website like you do the health inspection reports. Right. They're out there. People can take the time to go ahead and look if they don't want to look. But when I remember they called out United Shore in Pontiac. Well, if you work there, you're already well aware of this. Right. And that's not a public building where anyone can go into. So I could almost see the difference if you worked at Harper's in East Lansing, what they called out, because then it was the public is coming and going. Right. So they could say, hey, if you were here during these dates. But to call out a specific business that is close to the public just kind of plays into...
Yeah, and in the example of Harper's, they were letting people in that weren't wearing masks. They were definitely not encouraging any sort of social distancing in the long around-the-corner line to get into the bar that night, which meant that they were definitely going to pack that bar to full capacity hopefully within the law, but do we really even know at that point if it was within the law? So that was one of those make an example because of bad decision making, whereas others like United Shore did kind of come off as making an example for the sake of making an example, whereas the school numbers you have out now, yes, they're not exactly frequently being released. They're being released once a week, but it's still some form of transparency. It's still giving us a snapshot in time of how the progress of coronavirus spread prevention is going in our schools.
Exactly. And so, as always, you can check out all that information on civiccentertv.com. We also do put direct links to the CDC, the state of Michigan, Oakland County, as well as all of the other communities here in the state or in the greater West Bloomfield area. So this is the Oakland County Megacast on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. And of course, you can catch us on Channel 15 Comcast, Channel 88 AT&T, or on the radio 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And a huge shout out to the West Bloomfield Parks. They are allowing us to stream today's Megacast live on their Facebook page, and we so appreciate that. And we're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we are going to start the show off with the Senior Operations Coordinator for the West Bloomfield Parks. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test, and now it's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart, keep wearing a mask in public, and if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Thanks for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl, here in the studios with Tyler Keefe. So just so you know, Zoom, all of us are on Zoom now, right? Everyone has to be on Zoom pretty much to operate in today's world. And they keep doing updates and changing things. And it's like, come on, we just got used to this. We don't want to do an update. It's like I just had to do the update on my iPhone, and I tried to avoid those.
Yeah.
Such a pain.
Make it an update that I can't see what was updated.
Right.
I'll be happy with that.
But I hate
everything else is the same. You want to up the security? Sure, make it more secure. Tell me it's more secure. I'll be fine with that. But don't change the buttons.
Right.
Don't move stuff around.
We need our buttons the way they are.
Hit 3 buttons to make it go full screen.
So, hey, Heidi Russell is with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. She's the Senior Operations Coordinator for the West Bloomfield Parks. Heidi, are you a Zoom expert now?
No, I'm not a Zoom expert, but I'm certainly wading my way through and trying. That's for sure.
And what do you think about the updates when they change things on us?
Oh gosh, please no updates. That makes it too complicated. We just want to stick with what we've gotten used to. So no updates, please. No.
And Heidi, too, I would imagine, because you do so much with the seniors in the community, that when they change things, it's got to make your job a little bit harder, right?
Well, it certainly has been interesting, I've got to say. I never thought that I would be doing as much on Zoom. I didn't even know anything about Zoom until we started going through all this pandemic. So we've done an awful lot of virtual programming, and we're becoming accustomed to it. And the seniors are becoming accustomed to it, too. So at least if we're able to offer things on Zoom, that's the best thing we can do. So
I guess it's like if we want to be a part of something, it forces us to learn this new technology.
That's absolutely right.
But I do wonder, and I worry about so many seniors who don't grasp it, who don't want to move into this arena. Are you having conversations with them on how they're adapting to this new world?
Well, we are finding that there are some people who just, for whatever reason, it might be that they don't have internet service. They might not have computers. So there are folks who are not able to participate. We also are seeing some numbers that maybe are not as high as we were hoping for, but we're hoping that, in the fall and into the winter, when people are maybe more inclined to be back indoors, that they may be taking advantage of some of those Zoom programs, because we certainly are offering all kinds of wonderful things virtually. So we'll see what happens.
So share with us some of the programs that you are offering.
Yep, so we've got an awful lot going on right now, whether they're virtual programs or whether they're in person. We really have been trying to take advantage of the weather while we still have nice weather. So, we've got things coming up. We have our Heroes Appreciation event that's going to be coming up on November 6th. And then also the televised program that we're going to be having on November 11th. And that will be in collaboration with Civic Center TV, which we're so excited that you are partnering with us on that. But the drive-by event that we're going to be hosting on November 6th is for a lunch and then a gift for a veteran and a spouse or guest. And that's going to be at our office at the Recreation Activity Center. And we've had a number of these drive-by events, and they've been very successful. That it's one way that we can do socially distanced and acknowledge our seniors. So we're going to have flags lining the road coming into our office with music playing, and it's going to be really exciting. So that's going to be coming up on November 6th.
For some of the seniors, I guess the drive-by events at least allows them something, but it's still not the same as what you used to do in the past.
No, it certainly isn't. And we have been trying to do some things that are sort of out of the box lately. So we certainly have had our virtual programs, but we also have been doing a line dance outdoors at the Recreation Activity Center. We just started. We also have had 2 senior concerts, which were at Marshbank Park, which were wonderful to be able to take advantage of the nice weather. We had, 100 people registered for both of those concerts. And we have coming up, we've had parking lot bingo going on at our office, where people are in their cars and they're able to play bingo safely from their car. And we have a transmitter, and so the bingo is played through their radio. And it's been so much fun. It was just so exciting to get people out and be able to see people. And then when they win bingo, then they, flash their lights and honk their horns. So it's been very cute and really fun to get people out.
I love that. That is actually such a fun way to do bingo.
Yeah.
I think other people might need to pick that up.
Yeah, it's been very fun.
How much of this that you've been doing virtually do you think may stick around post the pandemic?
Well, at this point, we are just moving forward, with virtual programming, and we're just going to have to see what happens. Some people are enjoying the virtual programming. I mean, there's something to be said for it being convenient. People are in their homes, not having to come out, particularly in poor weather. You don't have to worry about coming out in a snowy day. You can enjoy a program from the safety of your home. So that's just something we're going to have to take a look at and keep moving forward. Of course, we certainly are looking forward to being able to have people in person. But until we can safely do that, then we will continue with virtual programming and outdoor programming as long as we're able to do so.
And I would imagine for those that are unable to get out due to health reasons, that they so greatly appreciate what all of you are doing. But in this world of virtual programming, there's so many people doing it, and how do you get your message across to the individuals to let them know that these things are being offered?
Well, we do a lot of communication with our marketing manager, Megan Kiernat, and she sends out e-blasts so that people know about our programs. Our guide, the WB Parks guide, is offered on our website, so people are able to see what things are coming up. And then also we have our Senior Happenings newsletter, which we mail. So people are able to learn about some of our different programs that way, whether it's virtual or in-person programming.
Heidi Russell with us on the Oakland County Megacast. She is the Senior Operations Coordinator with West Bloomfield Parks, our Facebook partner for today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. So one thing that is interesting in my notes that I see you guys are continuing to do over at West Bloomfield Parks is you're continuing your community transit program.
Yes.
For those that are not familiar with that, what is your community transit program, and continuing that during the pandemic, how has that been modified? What are your operations on that maybe are different now versus before the pandemic? Give us a little bit of information on that, please.
Yep, I'd be happy to. Our community transit program is a fabulous transportation program. And we have continued through the pandemic. We prioritized medical appointments, and then essential appointments. So if someone needed to go to the grocery store or a pharmacy, we made those appointments a priority. And now we are able to open up so that when people were able to then go out for a hair appointment or a barber or something, they were able to do that. But the transportation fee is $2 each way, and we go up to 6 miles outside the township. So it's a very successful program. We have not been doing as much of our parks and recreation programming that we used to do on the buses. So, for example, we would take 2 buses and go to a concert at the DSO, or we would go to the DIA, or we would go all around the Detroit area. But we're not able to provide that kind of transportation because we have, well, first of all, a lot of the venues are closed, but also because we have limitations for social distancing, how many riders we can have on our bus now. So we have only 2 riders on the bus at a time. Generally speaking, there's 1 person on the bus at a time. And we have new riders that we're getting all the time. And I think that people are recognizing that people who maybe didn't even know about our transportation program in the past are now taking advantage of it, which we're very, very grateful for. And people are able to maintain their independence. I think it helps for families to know that their loved ones, if they're living out of state, that their parents are being able to use this service, and it's been very successful. We're very pleased to be able to offer this to West Bloomfield residents, and we do have some people, even in the wintertime, who, even though they still drive, they will elect to use our transportation program in the winter because then they don't need to be out driving in poor weather. So it's been a great program.
So, and Heidi, how does that work? Do they have to call up and maybe schedule a time? Or is there an email way that they're doing it?
We take all of our reservations over the phone, and we have a transportation scheduler. We take our our medical appointments up to 28 days in advance, and we take our non-medical appointments like a grocery shopping trip or pharmacy or hair appointment. We take those up to 2 weeks in advance. So when the person calls in, they will just let us know what they're looking for an appointment. And then we figure out how much time we're going to need to allow to transport that person. And then we they get a window of time to be able to have their appointment. But sometimes it's a little bit tricky if you're trying to schedule a medical appointment because a doctor's appointment can run long. So we ask our riders to be able to sort of allow some extra time so that we know that we're going to be able to get them in a timely fashion. But it's a fabulous program, and we really are thankful to be able to offer that.
It is a great program. We're 7 months into this, so we've all learned to have to adapt. But in the beginning, and even now, when it comes to seniors, you worry about their isolation because especially seniors that have been involved in the West Bloomfield Parks Department and all of the programs that you have been able to offer, if that was their way to get out and to still socialize, and it's so important for them and really for all of us not to be isolated, but even more for seniors. How have you been able to help kind of bridge that gap so that they don't feel so alone?
Well, we've been offering, a lot of different programs that are trying to meet that need. And we also made phone calls to our seniors who were at home when we all were working remotely to let them know that we were thinking of them. We divided up, lists between 5 or 6 colleagues, and all were making phone calls. And I think that was, certainly very much appreciated. And then we also will email people if we have a particular program or make phone calls. If I know that I have one of our seniors who does not receive an email, then I will make personal phone calls to let people know about programs, just to be able to keep them connected. And I think that, it's appreciated, and we just keep moving forward and trying to figure out the best way to meet people's needs.
That is such a great way to do it. But I will say sometimes when you get on the phone, it's probably hard to get some people off because...
That's okay. That's okay. And we're happy to have that conversation. If I don't mind being on the phone for a while, if it's someone that really is enjoying a conversation, that's meeting a need, and we're very happy to do that.
It's so great that you're able to offer all these programs for the seniors and focus on them to let them know that they're not forgotten. Any other programs coming up that you want to let people know is out there?
Well, we do have a harvest celebration that's going to be coming up. That's on Monday, October 19th, which is pretty soon. That's going to be at Marshbank Park. It's going to be a walk at Marshbank Park, and then we're going to be offering a cider and pumpkin something themed treat that people can take home with them. We do have our virtual coffee talks, which are on Mondays from 10 to 10:30, which are online. Then we have programs. Well, I did mention the parking lot bingo. We have those on Thursdays. And that will be going through November 12th. So that's from 1:30 to 2. So people need to pre-register for these things. And then we do have a number of programs that we are doing in collaboration with the Historical Society. And there are some very interesting virtual programs. So I would definitely encourage people to go to our website, which is wbparks.org, and take a look at our guide so that they can see all of the different programs coming up and see if there's something that might be just the right thing for them.
What's being done to try to help the seniors that aren't online, that aren't savvy with the virtual world right now?
Well, we do mail out our Senior Happenings newsletter. So that's one thing that people can see, and get to be able to take a look and see if there are programs that would be of interest to them. And we also send out a postcard to let people know to refer to the website. And then people can always make phone calls and call our office at West Bloomfield Parks and get any information that they need from our CSRs at the front desk. So,
is there an age requirement for bingo? Because I want to come up one Thursday.
Well, unfortunately, there is an age requirement. It's 60 years and older to play our bingo, and these are our Connect members who primarily are involved in that program.
That is such a fun program, though. I'll wait a few years to be able to come up, but thank you all for everything that you're doing for our seniors and not leaving them behind during this pandemic. Heidi Russell with us on the Oakland County Megacast. She is the Senior Operations Coordinator for the West Bloomfield Parks, and they are also our Facebook partner of the day. Anything quickly, Heidi, that we didn't mention that you want to get out to the public?
No, I don't think so, but thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk with you today. Thank you.
It's great speaking with you as well. Bingo! Okay, Heidi, we're going to let you go. Well, Tyler and I will take a quick break here. When we come back, a little motivation to get your Tuesday rolling. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/containcovid. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonae Caldoon. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19.
Thank you for tuning back in to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Ronnie Dahl, here in the studios of Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM with the one and only Tyler Keefe. We're excited to have our next guest on with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Always our favorite. For a terrific Tuesday, let's bring in Stacie René. She's a motivational strategy speaker, mindset life coach, as well as an author. Always great to have you with us on the Megacast. Happy Tuesday.
Thank you. So glad to be on, and happy Tuesday and happy day. Right?
I know. And at first, I have to say, your mic, because of the way the light's hitting it, I thought you blinged it out. And I was going to be like, oh, my gosh, I need that.
Yes, it is. It does make it look a little fun with the lights and everything. So you have to spice it up, right? We make our own fun, and so this is my fun.
Well, it's always great having you on with us, and we learn so much when you're here, but not only that, you always pick up our spirits. And so with that, let's just jump into the topic. Today we want to talk a little about teens on this Tuesday, right? And this, I think in the beginning, trying to talk with your teens about the pandemic and what they're going through, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but we're almost 7 months into this, and really there's no end in sight. I would imagine the teens are really starting to feel the stress of this pandemic. You're a parent as well. Yeah. What advice do you have for parents out there?
Well, every advice is going to be different for every parent, and the issue with advice is that every child is going through a different experience and they're going through different things. And what I noticed is there is such a lack of support right now into where the teens can go because, they're all in a funky state of shock right now. And how do we handle this? This is new to all of us human beings and how we cope with it. And again, every teen, whether they're extroverted or introverted, is experiencing different things, and also what their parents are allowing them to do. I've heard some parents are like, no, you're not going anywhere. You're not doing anything. And I have other parents who, are working with the same type of parents and saying, all right, well, because we're in the same cluster or the same area, let's get our kids together. And so they're having a different approach to this whole staying at home. And of course, as you know, our school district is still online and isn't planning on going back until mid-January. And then it's just a my mess right now, to be honest with you.
And I wonder too about, it's hard enough when you're a parent, and I remember these conversations with my niece and nephew where it was like, well, so-and-so's parent is letting them go to the concert alone. So-and-so's parent got them a cell phone. So-and-so's parent did A, B, C, D, and E. So when it comes to COVID and you have families reacting differently to it, it's a little bit harder conversation to have with your child for them to understand and to respect as a parent why you are putting these guidelines in place for your particular family.
You nailed it. Absolutely. And the thing is what one parent allows their child to do, another parent doesn't, and now that teen feels left out. And then, well, if all of their friends are doing something over here and the one over here isn't allowed to, well, then they now become separated. So now they're even feeling worse than they were before. And again, they have they don't have any outlets right now. Sports are there, but they're scarce, and things just are not the same. And I know that everybody says we're adaptable, and sure we are, but it takes a lot of mental strength to understand what you want to do. And I've been working with some psychologists and some therapists in the area, and even the pediatricians. And I have to tell you, they are telling me that they have been writing more scripts for antidepressants for teens than they ever have. One even said, he's like, and I'm only one doctor, is writing anywhere from 12 to 15 new scripts a week for antidepressants. And we're just trying to keep everything together, and you can do that. But if they don't have a resource or they don't have a program, and not everybody wants to see a therapist or a psychiatrist, and not only that, but they're booked. I mean, they're completely booked, which is why, going through some things that I've been through with my own family, I have to tell you, I understand what some of the other parents are going through, and where do they send their child, and what do they do? And it's a sensory overload for even the parents, because they're working, they're trying to make ends meet and trying to keep it all together. But what does their teen do, especially if they're at home and they have no place to go?
And so many teens are spending so much more time alone at home, especially the high school ones who are still learning virtually at a lot of school districts. With that in mind, I know that you have a series coming up focusing on teens. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I do. Thank you so much. And the reason why this program has been developed, it's things that I've been doing for such a long time, but I have tailored it more towards the teen, what they can best utilize. And this program is something that actually just will help them in the now, but it will also help them in the future. So these are all habits and a new way of thinking and the overall mindset of how you can do things. So the teens will learn mindset, goal setting, neuroplasticity, because I think that they have to understand, why are they thinking this way? Use it or lose it type thing. And why are some teens having an easier time remembering things and the other teens aren't? So I think that that's important to understand. And as much as they're like, I don't want to learn about, science, this is just a little bit of a tidbit, but something fun that they'll understand and be able to process. They'll also understand about their ego and self-esteem, and if they don't get invited to something, how do they react to that? How to overcome those feelings and emotions. Also, of course, we have to touch on social media and what it's doing to them on a daily basis, and decreasing stress, because with all of this, stress is right there. It's right at the top of our heads. And then if they understand their confidence a little bit more, it will help them. And then also kind of visualizing and seeing and wanting to build their future. So we're going to tap into maybe a vision board, as well as changing your morning habits and your evening habits, because how you start the day and end the day is so crucial to your everyday functionality. So these are things that they are learning. And again, this program is not designed or developed for through a therapist or a psychologist, but I have worked with them and went through my program, and they said that this is a great program. For 8 weeks, they will use so much, and then they will learn so much. And then on top of it, they can download an app, of course, social media, here we come, more of it. They can download an app called WhatsApp, and then they won't be just left hanging. They can communicate with the other people that are in this series. And I don't necessarily want to call it a program, because I don't want them to think that it's something that my parents are making me go to, because that's not the case for this. This is just something to help build their future, have them understand their feelings, their emotions, but without a push for any therapy or making them feel like they're in a session, because that's what we don't want them to feel. So this program of keeping, I shouldn't say program because I just said program, this series is just having them connected in a different way and having them meet new friends as well.
What's great about this, I think, though, is it's trying to teach them habits early in their life so that these are habits that they can carry with them well beyond their college days, but into their future as well.
Absolutely. So that's why this program has been actually proven and tested, because I did a pilot and beta group, and the success that those teens that were in it have succeeded, and their families actually came to me and private messaged me and said, you have no idea what you did for my teen, not only for them, but what you've actually done for our family. And I think that right there is proof that, you know, what we do, how we implement our day, and make our own selves accountable. I mean, you do have to put some effort into it, just like you get up every morning and you brush your teeth and, you know, they have to do their schoolwork. There is some effort that has to be put in, but these efforts that we're doing for this program are actually going to be a lot of fun, and they can tap in and they can, you know, share their positive experience with all of us without feeling like we're making them do it. And it's just going to be an overall amazing experience for the teens, and something that they can feel good about, and they can feel like they've accomplished more in a day than they normally would have.
Stacie René with us, motivational strategy speaker and mindset life coach, joining us on the Megacast today. Stacie, this new course for teens, 8 weeks long. Any plans to make one for adults as well, or parents maybe, that are going through similar rough patches and trying to reset their daily mindset to be more positive?
Absolutely, there sure is. And, you know, taking these same types of strategies and systems or techniques that we have definitely is aimed toward adults. I do have programs that are for adults, actually one coming up on October 21st starting. And it's going to, again, deliver information that they need, that they can use to build their future and visions. If you don't have that set, then it's harder for you to move on. And here's the thing with all of our thoughts, that we think between 50 and 7,500, and some of us even 10,000 thoughts a day. Because our minds are geared towards negativity more, I mean, that's the reality of it, right? We think more negatively. And 90% of those negative thoughts, or those thoughts in general, shift over to the next day. So you're rethinking and you're putting more thoughts and more energy into all of it. And it's hard to get out of if you don't truly have the tools and understanding of how to change those habits. Just like when you get up, like I mentioned before, when you get up in the morning and brush your teeth, that is a habit. You go to bed, you've got your routine at night, right? And for the ladies, you have your face washing routine. For the guys, you get up in the morning and maybe you shave. It's all about routine and habits. Sure, it's not going to be easy right at its first balance, but if you take this series or one of these programs, I make it pretty darn easy for you, and I make it so it's not overwhelming, because as we know, we want everything now, and I'm able to give that to you to a certain level, but you do have to put some effort, some time into it. And the number one thing is, my friends, is don't live in the past. Because I used to do this. I used to have this. I used to have this salary. And I used to be so happy and bubbly, but you're not living in it now. So you're depressed. You're not feeling good about yourself. What are your thoughts giving you? What are they taking you? And it's all, whatever's happening to you right now is what your thought, your behavior, and your belief system is. So, heck, everyone, let's shift out of it. I can tell you how, and that's the beautiful part of my programs, is it truly is a benefit because of my heart and my passion, because I have been there on my hands and knees, in tears, crying, not knowing what the heck, until I actually snapped out of it and said, hello, I know how to get out of this. And I stood up and I make it happen. And yes, it is effort, because you want to think back to the negative, and I have the tools to say, all right, cancel, clear, delete, cancel, clear, delete, cancel, clear, delete, and then get myself back on the right track. Because that's what you need to do, is just catch yourself in the act of going back into the past and stopping it. stopping the negative thoughts, stop the negative behaviors, and move forward. And that's what we need to do, is catch ourselves. And the programs that I have for the teens, man, anyone that does this program is going to be so far ahead of the other teams, because they're going to know how to control their actions. They're not going to let other people get into their psyche, into their mindset, into their belief system, because they're like, hey, it doesn't bother me. And that's going to be a lot of strong willpower that is going to just do so much for them now and into the future, not just through school, but when they go to college, when they get a job. So to enforce all of this now, awesome idea.
Stacie René with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. I always feel like I have a bolt or a jolt of energy when you come on the show, because you are extremely energetic. And I met you in person once, and you're the same way in person as you come across through Zoom as well. And Stacie, not just for the teens, but for the adults out there as well. So many people are under stress right now. Mm-hmm. They're dealing with more things than they ever thought they would ever have to deal with, especially the parents that are having to work, the ones remotely, but also try to homeschool their kids that younger age too, like 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, while trying to also maintain their work-life balance on top of all of this. And I know we've talked before on the show about trying to, what you just mentioned, Control, Alt, Delete, to snap people out of their mindset. But when people feel like they start off with so much intention and so much enthusiasm, but then they go back into their old habits, how do you break them out of that to get them remotivated to a point where it becomes a new lifestyle?
It's all about reminders and reminding, because again, I mentioned I've been there and I teach this stuff. I know about it, but I too need reminders. So I use things such as, let me show you here, such as a $100 bill. And this is just actually not a real $100 bill, but it's just one that I use in one of my series. And it's just, using a $100 bill is a trigger for me and a mindset reminder about self-esteem and, thinking about where I want to be and not worry about outside sources or what I see on social media. That this right here reminder is that there's two sides to every story, two sides to everything that happens. And it's these types of tips and tools that we can use as adults and teens to remind us. It's about putting a little mantra in your car, or teens, on your phone, on the front of your phone. I had one of my clients do that, and every time he would get his phone, it would pop up, and he's like, oh yeah. So he would have to constantly have that reminder that I am awesome, successful, and smart. I succeed at what I put my mind to. Again, you have to say it again. I am awesome, successful, and smart. I succeed at what I put my mind to. And let me tell you, everyone, you need the reminders. If I need the reminders, I know you need the reminders. And I'm currently teaching a program right now, and it's about visualizing your future. And I've got a co-presenter that I do this with. And during this, I have even the adults say, thank you so much for the reminder of the morning habits, because I forget to take care of myself. And what do? I grab my phone first. And then, then another gentleman even said, he's like, thank you for telling me about the habits at night and how to get my mind to stop working and using it, because I'm thinking about all the things that I should have, could have, would have done. And I have to tell you, if you're thinking about that at nighttime, you're thinking about all the things that you would have, should have, could have done, not all your accomplishments. And that is not a calming mechanism. You need to think about things that you want for tomorrow, things about the things that you did accomplish, and stop being so hard on yourself. That's the problem. We think so much of what we could do, and when is enough enough? You have to step back and say, hey, this is my own four walls that I am responsible for, and I have to take control of. So you have to have yourself reminders. I have the tips and the tools to do that, and it's just ones that we can be reminded of daily. And it's just like when you're going on a new eating habit or a lifestyle change to get healthier, lose weight, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of eating some ice cream and you're like, oh crap, I forgot I should not be eating that. Because let me tell you, it's happened to me and I know it's happened to everybody else. You put it down. You don't say, oh, I'm just going to finish eating this whole thing and I'm going to go have a bag of chips and I'm just going to continue eating like crap for the rest of the day and I'll just start tomorrow. Absolutely not. You pick up right there where you need to be, stop yourself, and that's when you have to remind yourself to get in control. Use your sticky notes. Use your little reminders that I have. I even have one for seeing balloons or looking at your keyboard, and there's so many other things that you can stop yourself from doing. Everything in life is a habit. Everything in life is a routine. You're responsible for it. So I can help you with that.
Stacie René with us, motivational strategy speaker and mindset life coach, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. Stacie, just another couple minutes with you before we'll have to let you go. Anything else that you'd like to discuss today or any other information that would be important for our audience to know at this time?
Absolutely. My thought is, in order to lead a positive life, you have to have a positive mindset. And with my programs, and I'm not out just shooting to say, hey, join my programs, be a part of it. I truly have a passion because not only have I gone through my hardships, especially recently, I have gone through a really difficult and earth-shattering experience with my own family and things that are going on. And, it takes the support of my husband and, my own family and my friends. And I have a true passion for teaching these skills because not only do I see when I don't use them how I can fall apart, but when I do use them, they make me excel. And I succeed with them. And I've got the proven testimonials from other people that just say, hey, this really does work. And not only that, but I have the backing and support of therapists and psychologists and the pediatricians. And, I want all of us to be happier and to be more successful, or I wouldn't have put these programs together. And I think that we have to start somewhere. We need someone like this program to say, hey, let's open our arms, let's help everybody as a community, and let's be the village that we need to be, because right now we need to be strong and help each other. If you're interested in registering, you can go on my website. It's Stacie René. It's STACIERENE.com, and you can register on it that way. I do have an app as well that you can go and see the programs that I do offer. Again, Stacie René. And you can just reach out to me or just send an email. So I'd love to be there as a resource, as a guidance. I do mindset coaching, and I love changing people's minds to see what they truly can accomplish and utilizing what they already have and excelling in what they are really good at. So I'm Stacie René, and I'd love to be there as a resource for you.
Stacie, quickly before we let you go, a question for you. Do you suggest people join one of your classes or one of your programs with a friend? Because I kind of think just like when you start going to the gym, you're so much more accountable if you have a partner that goes with you. Would that be something that would also benefit for people looking at joining one of your programs, or maybe even reading your book and buying your book and making one of their own classes, like a master class per se?
Absolutely. There's proven statistics that show that you will succeed more so when you have an accountability partner or buddy. And that goes for working out, for programs like I offer, for really anything. And because you have ideas to bounce off of each other, because our minds are so different. And I could say one thing and she'd be like, well, I thought of it this way. That is such a good point. And the other person, I never thought of it in that aspect. And so not only are you getting the program, but you're actually getting more out of it because you're bouncing ideas out of somebody that you trust with them. So I appreciate you bringing that up because that is a really good, valid point. And who doesn't want the most out of what they can get if they're doing a program? And who doesn't have 8 weeks to give 8 hours out of their life to better themselves, to build their future and be a better you? Have a positive mind. It'll take you everywhere.
That is a good note to leave on. Stacie René with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Always great having you on with us. We appreciate your time. She is a motivational strategy speaker, mindset life coach, and also the author of Positive Shift Ahead. You are listening to 89 BLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, still a lot to get to in the next hour, but we'll start the hour off talking about business. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
On the Oakland County Megacast. You can catch us on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T, or if you're out driving around in your car, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And also today we are live streaming today's Megacast on the West Bloomfield Parks Department Facebook page. We want to say thank you to them for being our Facebook partner of the day, and it was great speaking with Heidi Russell off the top of the show. She's the Senior Operations Coordinator for the Parks Department. They are doing so many great things over there for the seniors to make sure that they are not feeling isolated and alone during the pandemic. In fact, I love their new way of doing bingo. They're doing parking lot bingo, Tyler, but we're too young to play. What if we dressed up in Halloween outfits as elderly people and crashed their bingo party?
I think they'd figure that out pretty quickly. Maybe even be slightly offended.
Yeah, only if we win, maybe.
True. I'm just gonna call bingo on every card because I'm just a chaos man.
Oh, my goodness gracious. So, but second hour of the Oakland County Megacast, we still have a lot to get to. And we want to go ahead and bring in Nadir Jiddou, Michigan business broker. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing your name correctly. We were a little late getting connected with you. How are you today?
Doing very well. How are you? Is this Ronnie?
Yes, I'm Ronnie. I'm so excited to talk with you because I'm wondering, how are things going for you during this pandemic? Is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market? How are things looking in the business world right now? Because according to some of the latest studies, businesses are not doing well, especially small businesses. I think 1 out of 7 is anticipating they're going to be closing during the next year. Is that good for you or bad for you?
Well, first, my name is pronounced Nadir Jiddou. So you're close. It's just not Nadir. So it's Nadir. That's the way to pronounce my name. But in anyways, it goes both ways for me right now. It's good for certain industries and bad for other ones. So I've been very busy for the past 4 or 5 months just because there are businesses that are proven to be recession or pandemic proof, and we're selling those. And there are other businesses like you're mentioning that are failing and people want to just sell at whatever price they can get, kind of just doing a fire sale. So that also keeps me busy in certain industries. So to me, it's a buyer's and seller's market depending on the industry you're in. If you're like a salon, gym, or a bar, let's say, then that's a buyer's market. If you're maybe like a liquor store or gas station, supermarket, then maybe it's a seller's market.
Yeah, looking at your website, I saw there were a lot of liquor stores right now that seem to be selling. Why do you think that is? Because they're the one industry that's been allowed to remain open this entire time during the pandemic. In fact, from some of the people I know, the sales have been incredible for liquor stores.
Yeah, some people are doing double what they were doing. I mean, but most people are doing about 25 to 30% increase in sales, and they're reducing their hours. It's just, some of them can't even keep up with all the business that they're getting, to be honest with you. And that's one of the reasons some of them are selling, even though they're doing better numbers, they just can't keep up with it. Because also another issue that we don't really talk about, people are worried about all the people that don't have jobs, but really there's so many jobs available that we can't get people to work just because some of the stimulus and some of the things that people are getting. It's not an incentive to work, actually, in some of the retail jobs or lower paying jobs anyways.
Oh yeah, you drive down the street and just about every industry, especially for the frontline people, the lower paying jobs, there are help wanted signs everywhere. So it's like you said, it's hard for so many of these places to be able to get the employees. How did you get into this line of work of selling just businesses?
Oh, for me, I've been a business owner since I was about 19, 20 years old. And I always like buying businesses myself and selling them. So actually, it was just a fluke thing that somebody told me at a wedding. Said, I always had my real estate license. So one of my buddies would say, Nadir, you'd be come work with me. I'm a business broker. You do pretty good at it. So I tried it out. I liked it. And that was about 5.5, 6 years ago. And I just really sold all the businesses that I had. And now I just do this exclusively. I actually sold my last business February 24th of this year. So I'm just strictly a business broker now.
Wow, I have to tell you, talking to you and seeing your background, a business owner at 19, I feel so lazy.
It was just, I don't know, it was not a fluke, but it was an opportunity that presented itself. I was still going to school, so I had 3 other partners, so it wasn't just me by myself. And, we worked it and we built it into something else, and it kept growing. And we eventually split up as partners, and I just kept my own and I grew my own businesses. So, I mean, it's like anything else, anybody else who goes to school or does other things, it was a building stage in my life. So I just kept on doing it, and here I am now.
So for people right now during this pandemic who maybe did lose their jobs and they didn't like their jobs to begin with, so they're trying to think of ways to recreate themselves, and they're thinking about becoming their own boss by owning their own business, what advice would you give them, knowing your background and everything you've been through?
Do your due diligence, find something you're going to love to do. I know everybody talks about, find your passion and everything, whatever it is that you like to do that. If you're doing what you love and you're going to do a good job with it, somebody will pay you enough money to make a good living out of it. So, if you always wanted to, I don't know, own a liquor store, let's just say, then go buy a liquor store, but maybe depending on the money you have. So there's just so many factors on how you do it. The risk you're willing to take, what industry you're going to go into, who you're going to hire to help you make the right decision. If I had people advising me, like if I had Nadir at this age advising me at 19, I would have done a lot of things differently, to be honest with you. So having the right people to advise you is very important.
Nadir Jiddou with us. He is a Michigan business broker joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. Nadir, for those business owners that are either preparing to sell their business because it's a seller's market, and they're having some success and they want to get out while the business is hot, what should they be doing right now to prepare themselves to put their best foot forward in selling their business? And similarly, for those that are trying to sell in more of a buyer's market, what should they be doing to prepare to put their best foot forward in preparing to sell their business?
They should both be doing the same thing, operating their business, as if they were not selling or buying, or they didn't have a seller or buyer. They have to operate in a good way, and also the curb appeal of the business. Just like when you're selling a home, make sure everything is organized, your paperwork is in order. That's what every buyer is going to ask for anyways, all your financials. The good thing about this year, everybody did all those PPP loans and everything like that, which kind of worked out well because all my sellers have all their paperwork. It's all ready to go. So when I ask them, hey, can I get the P&Ls for this year, they already have it ready. So having all those things in order is going to help you sell quickly to a potential buyer, whether you're in a seller's market or a buyer's market. If you don't have your financials, your lease, your equipment list, all these things in place, then it's just going to drag out the deal, and then we're never going to close anyways because time kills all deals.
That's good advice. And I always think of housing, where they go in and they stage houses and they plant new flowers out front and they make sure it's clean and tidy. Is that just as important for a business as well?
Of course, we're visual. All people are visual people, right? When we see something, that's our first instinct is to look and see, and our first impression is going to be how the place looks, regardless of the business, regardless of the financials, right? That being said, it could be the prettiest business ever, but doesn't make any money, then it's still not going to matter. So you kind of have to have both in a business.
For someone who they're on the edge, right? Because everyone is so concerned about the pandemic and the future and the uncertainty of the future. That's what's so scary for so many people. How do they go about, if they maybe have their life savings and they want to invest in something, what is the hot markets for people to invest in right now? Or is it really just based on passion driven?
I mean, if you want to invest into something that, you want to make sure when the next pandemic happens, you're going to be safe, then, you should just only focus on those businesses, right? Because it's been proven in this case, but the next pandemic, I mean, it could be 100 years from now, or it could be handled differently than it was this time around, right? So if you go after those businesses, you're probably going to pay a little bit more than you would normally because it's a seller's market, right? So what I see a lot of where the deals are at are some of these businesses that, in time are going to become very profitable businesses. People will still have to eat. People will still have to get haircuts. They're still going to go to the gym. They're going to do all these things. And if you can make a good offer and buy something with a low risk and, keep it going for the next 6 months to a year based on the numbers they're doing now, in a year from now, you can have a very valuable business and, you can make money for a long time from there. So getting a business that maybe is not pandemic proof, but you can get a great deal on might be the best economical way to go. And keep in mind, if you go for something that's pandemic proof, the seller knows that as well. So they're going to want a little bit more money for it. So
what
just
about,
how you
I'm sorry, what about areas? Are there certain communities or certain areas that you would recommend people to look at to invest in? Because maybe that's going to be where people are moving in, because we're seeing the real estate market shift right now as well.
Yeah, I mean, real estate is super hot, right? Everybody's buying. I mean, you can't even put an offer on a house right now, right? For the residential. And I mean, areas, for businesses, it's so different. Even same business across the street might do different. So for businesses, a little bit different because you can't just depend on that market for this kind of industry. Sometimes, like salons are struggling everywhere, really. I mean, there's not anybody who has a salon who's doing better numbers than they were before. So in that case, it's not. Certain industries, it might make a difference, but to me, the area, you would just have to look at it case by case, to be honest. That's what we really do. Each business is different. Even if it's in the same city, same street, it might have a different price for even somebody doing the same amount of sales.
Nadir Jiddou with us on the Oakland County Megacast. He's a Michigan business broker joining us today on the show. For those businesses that do want to stick it out and are going to continue to operate even through the pandemic and try to push through however longer we have with this and stick with their business, what advice are you giving to them to continue to do their best to be profitable and maybe put themselves in a position that when things do start returning to normal, they can not only recover quickly or efficiently, but even thrive in that situation?
Yeah. I would say just try to run as lean as possible. I mean, this has forced all business owners to run very, very tight operations, right? And I would say take care of your employees. I mean, they've never been more valuable for business owners because there's just not, the pool is not there. So taking care of your employees, do innovative things. With this pandemic has forced us to do a lot of different things. I mean, Zoom meetings and all the things we do now, they have to adapt to what's going on and not keep crying about what was before and what happened to them. If you move forward and adapt to the situation, I think in 6 months to a year, or it may be longer, I don't have I don't know 100%, but if you can stick it out, I think the people that do survive, especially with the industries that have been hit the hardest, will be very successful.
So what you're saying is you don't have a crystal ball?
Oh, I'm with me.
That'd be great as a business owner, right?
I wish I had. I mean, this affected my business as well. I mean, even being a business broker, it affected my business. And I didn't just, close down shop. I lost a couple of employees when this happened. So I had to just adapt and do different things and hire different people and just do everything differently to get my business back to where it needs to be.
And you talked about business owners having to adapt during this time. How important has social media been in all of this with the business owners to be able to adapt, but also to try to promote their business as well?
I mean, social media has been very important in all businesses for a while now. I mean, if you don't have a presence, at least just some sort of presence on social media, then you're missing the boat. Especially a lot of it is free. And even to do a little bit of marketing is not that expensive. It's just a little bit time consuming and some people just don't want to deal with it. I mean, even myself, I don't do too much on social media, but I hire people that are willing to do it for me. So even if you don't like doing it, you have to have a presence on there. Google, working on your AdWords or SEO, all these things that you have to do. You're not just going to send out coupons in the mail and hope for customers to come anymore.
And plus, a lot of people, when you get that mailing, you just throw it out anyway. I always look, if they don't have a online presence and they don't have a social media or even a website, which is so cheap to develop right now, and they make it easy, then I typically feel like I don't want to do business with them because they could be a fly in the night shady business.
Exactly. And it just shows, just a little bit of effort goes a long ways in marketing. I mean, that's the main thing that I do for my customers is I'm really, from the restaurant business, I learn a lot about marketing and how to go after specific people. So in any industry you're in, there are people out there and you need to go after them and you need to let them know that you're still in business and you're wanting them to come to your business, even with the pandemic, or if you have to take your business to them. I mean, there's so much going on. A lot of places that had sit down are doing a lot of carryouts and deliveries. So that's how you adapt in the restaurant business. That's what a lot of people did. So if that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do, cater to different kind of customer or reach out. Sometimes a lot of these business owners never even did any marketing or advertising. So they turned the lights on, people came in, they made enough money, they were happy. With all what's going on right now, it's a little bit of a different time and you really have to adapt. If you don't, you're going to be left behind.
No one wants to be left behind, especially now more than ever. Just a couple more minutes here with you on the Oakland County Megacast. Anything that we didn't touch on that you think is important for people to know?
I mean, the main thing right now that I hear, the biggest complaint is hiring. And, when I had my places, I always struggle with hiring. That's never been an easy thing for any owner. It's always an issue, right? So what you have to do as an owner now, you really have to be more creative. You really have to try every single thing possible. There are great employees out there. You just have to find them and you have to talk to them. You have to sending out emails and just, like what I hear a lot is that they get a lot of applications and then nobody shows up to interviews, right? Because they're just communicating via online, like email or text or whatever. You have to call people, you have to text them, you have to email them to get them. It's almost like you're trying to get a date with these people, so you need to get them in. Do your best to get them in to entice them to come work for you. You may have to pay them more, and if you do, that's okay. If customers are willing to pay for your product, charge a little bit more to accommodate for the higher wages you're going to have to pay the employees of today's market. So, employees, you have to get a little bit more creative to get them to your place so that you don't have to shorten your hours. You don't have to close down your business because you can't operate. I know a lot of people that are turning away business because they can't handle it. I just couldn't.
So you mentioned hiring. I think we just came up with a business together. Why don't we do Bumble and Bumble for businesses to hire?
I mean, I've always thought if somebody, the problem is for any employees between $10 and $20 an hour, it's really hard to be a recruiter for them. I mean, you can kind of be that way, but it's just not enough money. And I've thought about it, but the recruiters really do it a little bit higher wages so they can get a bigger commission on it. So,
right.
I mean, it would work. It would work. But
swipe right, swipe left.
Yeah, hey, let's go. There you go. It would work. It would work because it would just cut out a lot of the extra stuff that you don't need to know. I mean, when I was hiring for my restaurant, yeah, I wanted you to have restaurant experience, but my main thing was, can you show up on time? Were you a good person? I can train you to make a pizza or whatever. That's not a big deal.
Right. Well, it's been such a pleasure speaking with you. Quickly before we let you go, though, do you want to tell everyone where they can reach you if they do have a business they want to buy or they want to sell right now?
Yes, you can always get a hold of me with a telephone. That's one thing we can do, 248-220-3274. You can call or text me on that. Or you can check out MichiganBusinessBroker.com, and we have all our listings, and you can also get a hold of me on that as well.
Thanks so much for your time. We so appreciate it. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Nadir Jiddou, he's with the Michigan Business Broker, 248-220-3274. Now could be a great time for you to invest in a new business, make that life-changing decision that a lot of people are, weighing right now. This could be the time. He could be your connection. When we come back on the Oakland County Megacast, we're going to be talking about racial justice as well as ending the show. Speaking about defeat the label, what exactly is that?
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Parks COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19. Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Thank you for tuning in to the Oakland County Megacast. We're here in the studio, Civic Center TV, and 89.3 Lakes FM in the greater West Bloomfield area. It's great to have everyone with us here today. And also, we always want to say thank you to the Oakland County or to the West Bloomfield Parks Department. Today, they are our Facebook partners of the day. They are live streaming today's Megacast on their Facebook page. So we want to say thank you to them as well. We're going to shift focus just a little bit right now and talk about racial justice. It's definitely come to light during this time and during this pandemic following the death of George Floyd. But for all of those impacted, it has actually been an issue for decades, but it's just now really taken front and center stage. So let's bring in Mikkel Goodman, Administrator of Racial Justice, Town Hall Moderator, and Hannah Mathers. She is the administration for the Oakland County for Racial Justice, and they're joining us both together on the Oakland County Megacast. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having us.
I'm glad to be here.
Okay, let's start off with Oakland County for Racial Justice. Exactly what is that, and when did you guys start?
Yeah, so we started back in June. We hosted a protest in Waterford, A lot of protests are happening and are still happening and were happening in Detroit. And we realized that racial justice is something that needs to be highlighted as well here in Oakland County. So we had a protest in Waterford with some amazing speakers. And then from there, we realized that there was a lot of momentum for racial justice here. And so we started a group. So right now we're a Facebook group. We're also on Twitter. And our current focus is to empower voters to vote with an anti-racist lens, which means choosing candidates who have an agenda for racial justice.
How do you take it from a protest to policy for change from here on out?
Great question. So I think the protests, the purpose of the protest, in my opinion, was to really raise awareness. A lot of people were talking about it that perhaps were not talking about it before. So I think that that's what that protest in Waterford did. And from there, that momentum hopefully will lead us to the polls, lead us to being really educated voters now and in the future. So I think that protest was really just to, raise awareness and things like that. So.
And if you don't mind me hopping in, I think it's also really important because, when you learn how to vote for candidates that have an anti-racist agenda, you also learn about, candidates that have a less sensitive or more policies that are detrimental to people of color. So once you learn the difference between those two, now in the future, okay, these policies seem very similar to ones I've seen before that have, hurt and displaced and damaged communities of color, whereas these candidates have been doing things that have genuinely helped out communities of color. So in addition to what we're doing, before we even get into helping write policy or push policy of our own, it's also helping people see the candidates who push and create certain policies so that people know what to look for and what to fight against.
Nicole Goodman and Hannah Mathers with us from Oakland County for Racial Justice, joining us today on the Oakland County Megacast. On October 15th, you're going to be speaking with 8 different candidates who are on the ballot this November from Oakland, various elections regarding Oakland County and the state of Michigan. Could you explain what this town hall will look like, what will be discussed, and what your organization hopes will be the outcome of this town hall?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sure. So we're really excited. We have both Oakland County Sheriff candidates, both clerk candidates, and both treasurer candidates, as well as the prosecutor, the Democrat candidate for prosecutor, Karen McDonald, and Jim Nash, Water Resources Commissioner. So we're really excited about that conversation. Mikkel and another moderator, Tamika, led a wonderful conversation a couple months ago before the primary. And I think that really kind of laid out what voting with an anti-racist lens can look like and should look like, and also started a conversation with candidates and with future government officials about what we expect of them in regards to pushing for racial justice. So I think this next event will do the same thing with those 8 different candidates. Hopefully it's not, hopefully it's just the beginning of the conversation with our future government officials, as well as empowering voters to deeply consider these things as they go to the polls this November.
And, coming off of that, it's also really important because we're at a point in time where these questions regarding how certain offices and certain candidates handle racial disparities and outright racial injustice is very important, especially when you look at, sheriff. Of course, they're the chief peacekeeping officer for the entire county, and how they handle, crime, all across the board, but especially how they handle it through different communities among different, backgrounds and races is very important. Along with, of course, prosecutor who enforces the laws in the county. So, having these conversations with these candidates early on, before they're even in office, gives voters a chance to see what these candidates stand for before they mark their name on the ballot. Mm-hmm. And also gives them a chance that, after they're in office, well, did this candidate live up to what they said in this town hall that I watched? it also allows voters to have accountability for their elected officials. If you see that someone didn't follow what they said the first time, you can easily be like, hey, next time I'm not going to vote for them because they backed off on my word. And I think this town hall is very important for making sure that the conversations are being had, and that there's also like a track record or like, kind of like a manuscript of like, okay, this is what they said, this is what they didn't do. How do we remedy that?
I really like the way that Tamika described the accountability process in our last town hall as well, where she just said, like, we gave you this job and now we are reviewing your job. Like, we're giving you a job review at this point. Yeah. And I really thought that was really powerful to think about our leaders as people that we put there, and therefore we have, the responsibility almost to check and make sure that they're doing the job that we voted them in for.
Just to let you know, your camera is blinking as if the battery is going out. So if we lose you, we just want to let people know. But we're going to continue the conversation, and hopefully we can get through this interview with the both of you. A question: are you nonpartisan or are you Democrats?
We are nonpartisan. Yes. So as we mentioned about the town hall, we have both Republican and Democratic candidates coming for those three positions that we mentioned. And we recognize that racial justice needs to be in the forefront of all of our government officials' minds, regardless of their party.
How can people participate in this town hall? Is it going to be all just moderator and the candidates, or will there be an opportunity for members of the public to also have some insight and maybe ask these candidates questions as well?
Yeah, so what we've been doing is allowing people who are not moderators or candidates to ask questions. That way that, maybe their specific question will be heard during the town hall and being asked by one of the moderators. So that way we can not only have questions from an admin point of view, but also from the constituents that have to also vote for these candidates. So it's just making sure that we're having a place for people to be able to ask questions. Not to mention, town hall will be held on Facebook Live, which means voters will be able to ask and comment in real time, which is also still participating.
I'd love to see your passion to the both of you in the upcoming election, and voter education is so important. Do you feel like the younger generation is really getting involved in this upcoming election, and could that be the tipping point as well for some of these candidates?
I think it's very important. The work that I do outside of Oakland County for Racial Justice, I focus very heavily on youth politics, and we're at a point where the youth are heavily involved in what's happening for many different reasons. One of them being that the grandeur and all, the great things that happen to our parents, because I'm 20, I'm very young. All the things that happen to, in our parents' generation, our grandparents' generation, aren't necessarily the case for us. So we feel that we have to fight much more early on and much harder to actually get things done. And so with so many youth being involved now, especially in conversations about climate change, of course, and racial justice, a lot of these candidates are going to have to start appealing to younger voters, because the younger voters are also the ones that are more likely to actively either work for or against them. And if we can get all of voters to turn to the polls, it becomes even harder for those candidates to win in office if they don't appeal to those younger voters who really care about these issues.
Hannah, did you want to address that as well?
Well, I just echo what Mikhail said. I think, that these are issues that the younger generation are talking about, and perhaps in the past, government officials didn't feel like they needed to answer to the young people as much as maybe they do now.
I think it's great that you are also getting involved on the local level. Do you think because of the pandemic, more attention is being focused on our local elected leaders and the decisions that they are making, because those do have such a direct impact on us here on a community level?
What do you think, Mika?
can go first again. I mean, paying attention to these local elections are extremely important because a lot of the things that happen in our communities do happen on a much more local basis, whether it be city, county, state, district. A lot of things happen on a much closer level than federal. And so, having these conversations with local candidates, it's, showing voters, these are the people who really have a say in what's happening in your area. I mean, I'm not going to go to, the Department of Justice for something that's happening with the Sheriff's Department in Oakland County. I'm not going to go bang down the governor's door for something that can be handled by the county executive, county treasurer. So making sure that people recognize where these issues are really happening is extremely important.
So we're going to pause you guys just there for a minute because we did lose your picture, but we have not lost your audio. So we're going to just put up a graphic here. So if you guys want to keep talking, go ahead, and if you can pick up the conversation from there, Mikal.
Yeah. So again, it's just backing up what I said originally, like making sure that we focus on where these issues are really taking place and where the solutions really can come from, allows people to direct their energy in a constructive and productive manner, opposed to what usually happens when people see every problem in their country as something that happens, federally. If something happens, let's go to, our state rep, let's go to our senator, let's go, make sure that we vote in the next election for the president. While those are all extremely important to have very big consequences, we have to make sure that we're not wasting energy on things and in places where they could be handled, more efficiently elsewhere.
Yeah, I completely agree. I have nothing to add.
Nicole Goodman and Hannah Mathers with us on the Oakland County Megacast, both of them from Oakland County for Racial Justice. Their town hall with 8 different Oakland County candidates is on October 15th. Just another couple minutes with the two of you before we have to say goodbye. As we're closing this out, just one more time, can you provide the information on how people can access this town hall and participate in the town hall as well later on this week?
For sure. You can find us on Facebook, Oakland County for Racial Justice. You can email us, oaklandcountyforracialjustice@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter as well. OC4RJ is our Twitter handle. And we will be posting that live on our Facebook page and our Facebook group as well. So.
Well, we wish you the best of luck with your town hall, and thank you for your passion for such an important issue. And we're so hoping that so many younger people do get involved in the upcoming election. And I love the conversation that you're having with the local leaders. So thank you to the both of you for all that you're doing here in the Oakland County area. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, and when we come back, we'll be ending out the show speaking about Defeat the Label. Exactly what is that and why it matters to you.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards, back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Just about 20 minutes left here in the Oakland County Megacast. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. As a reminder, you can catch Tyler and I here in the studios Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon. Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access, Channel 19 on, or Channel 15 on Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. Or if you're out driving around, you can catch us on 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM, The Biff. We're going to round out the show today speaking with Jamie Green Kaniarz. She's the executive director for Defeat the Label. But what exactly is Defeat the Label? Jamie, great to have you with us. Can you fill us in on what Defeat the Label is all about?
Yeah, unmute our audio. There we go. Now let's ask her.
Hey, Jamie, how are you today?
Well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, we're great. Thank you for being with us. So, Defeat the Label, fill us in. What exactly is Defeat the Label?
Defeat the Label is a nonprofit organization that focuses on anti-bullying work. We're based out of West Bloomfield, Michigan, and we work with schools and students and teachers throughout the country with a variety of different programs.
And how did Defeat the Label get started? What was the reason behind it?
So it was two gentlemen, two fathers from West Bloomfield, Jeff Sacqua and Kevin Goldman. And they were very active in the schools, both the ones that their children were in West Bloomfield and then other ones as well. And they were taking part in a variety of different projects to help the school, whether it was fundraising or spreading awareness. And they decided that they wanted to do something more. They wanted to really tackle a bigger problem. They were very, very committed to the schools. And so they started talking. They started talking to the schools that their kids went to, and then they started talking to the school board, and then they started talking to the state school board, and it kind of just went from there. And what they heard that really surprised them was bullying. They knew bullying was a problem, but they didn't expect it to be the top one or top two things that the schools were saying. And they went and they met at the national level with different teachers unions, the NEA and the AFT, Communities in Schools, American Association of School Counselors. And they said, okay, this is what we need to do. And so originally there were some strategic partnerships with different organizations that could develop and deliver programming, because it was just the two of them. And from there, as the organization has grown, they hired staff, myself, and some amazing program coordinators and facilitators. And we were just able to eventually, as the program got bigger and bigger, it was no longer feasible to expect partners to be able to deliver the programming just on their end. So here we are.
Here you are. And I wonder, how are things been changing? Because with so much focus right now on the pandemic and the crisis and just trying to get kids remotely learning or back into the classrooms, has bullying changed to a different degree because of the way we're teaching now?
So I think one thing that people think is that, oh, we're not in school, so therefore bullying's getting better, right? That's clearly the upside of all of this. But in reality, it's actually getting worse. LIGHT is an organization that monitors online harassment, bullying, hate speech, hate crimes. And they worked with the Pew polling firms to do a survey of student and online behavior over the last 7 months. And what they found was that there was a 70% increase in cyberbullying just in the last 6 months. Which is huge. And I think a lot of people are really taken by surprise in hearing that. But it absolutely makes sense when you think about it. You have all these young people, they're all online all the time, of course, cyberbullying is going to increase. It absolutely would.
And I think I read something once where it was just the background in, the students' homes, because now everyone can see into your home when you have to do a virtual classroom. And that can spark bullying as well, because they're seeing maybe your house isn't as nice as this house, or that you have a different situation than that house. And now you're opening up those doors into your private life that maybe weren't opened before, which is leading to the increase of a different form of bullying almost.
So that is true. So yeah, when we start talking about bias-based bullying, you start to see some of that. That's been a big topic for a lot of schools around the social emotional learning aspect of remote and video learning during this, because exactly what you said, right? People can see your homes, and so many schools are requiring the students to have their cameras turned on, and it can create a real sense of anxiety, of fear, of inequality. You have students that maybe are in their home, but they share a bedroom with 3 or 4 siblings. You have, all kinds of situations going on with parents. Maybe they don't want people to hear a native language being spoken. Maybe the family participates in cultural or religious traditions, covering hair or covering their faces, but at home they don't do that. Right now that's being broadcasted to the world. There are students who are homeless or live in shelters, and they are broadcasting from a car. So yes, that definitely does open up a whole other issue. And we do see that, unfortunately, and that was part of the survey too, when it was looking at those social emotional impacts. And so I think that, especially as we look at middle school and high school educators, they're starting to give students the option to not have their cameras on all the time, as long as they have their voice on, to kind of give them a sense of privacy.
Jamie Green Kaniarz with us. She's the executive director of Defeat the Label, joining us this morning on the Oakland County Megacast. Jamie, with that, Defeat the Label is regularly in our local schools, aiding in anti-bullying curriculum with these schools and in these classrooms, and is heavily involved. During the pandemic, as these new issues are also arising, how is the organization continuing that education and that aid in education with these teachers and with these schools, despite not being able to physically be in those classrooms in a lot of these cases?
So I will say we stayed in classrooms until the very end. Our last day in schools was the 12th of March, when, our whole world shut down. So what we did was we made our programs available virtually, and that was a learning curve, like everybody else, right? Because we had 3 days to figure out how do we do this. Since then, we've been able to develop and work on our programming. I am really proud of what our team has done, being able to transition so much of our traditionally delivered in-school programming to a virtual platform. We're working on a series of videos. We have a really exciting elementary curriculum that we'll be deploying later this year, that teachers can implement in their own classrooms instead of having a facilitator come in. So we've been, just like everybody else, going with the flow, adjusting where we need to, trial and error, and we're doing it. We've been in contact with all of our school partners, and we are flexible. Traditionally, we do not start the Upstander programming until the end of October, beginning of November, because it allows schools time to get to know their students, get to decide who they want to do the programming for. Are they pulling students out of certain groups? Are they doing a whole grade level? So what we're telling our partners is, whatever you need, we'll do, whether that's going to be an all virtual program, whether you want us in the classroom, whether it's a hybrid, we'll make it work. And we are really fortunate and very lucky to be able to say we have this flexibility.
And do you think going forward, having to develop that virtual platform, will it allow you to reach more people than you would normally trying to go into their classrooms? And so could it be a positive for you?
It absolutely could. So we're definitely seeing that, not so much with Upstander because it hasn't started yet for this year. We've been getting inquiries about it, asking us if we have an all virtual program, which has been really exciting. I think that at this particular moment where we're seeing probably the broadest impact and the most positive impact is our upcoming community conversation on bullying, which is going to be on Thursday. Traditionally, we've held it in Waterford at the Oakland ISD. We've had really good turnout. We hosted in partnership with the MEMAC Foundation, and we get really good turnout, but it is pretty much teachers from Southeastern Michigan. This year, we're hosting it all virtually, and the turnout has been amazing. Even just to see on our website where people are coming from. We have participants coming from California. We have participants coming from Hawaii and Alaska and Canada. So I think that this is going to really open the door and to expose more people to the programming, which will in turn give us further opportunities for expanding Upstander as well.
So now you just have to look at the different time zones, right? I mean, you think about it, it's like, oh, California, what time is it there? And
that's been not so much fun. That part, not so much. Not enjoying that part so much.
So maybe in the future you decide a 4 or 4 p.m. because it could be like in between,
I'm a little bit nervous about that. There have been a couple times when I've been like, oh yeah, we can do it 3 o'clock. And then I'm like, wait a minute. They're in California. So that means I go, okay, hold on one second. Let me just figure this out for a second.
Jamie Green.
But like I said, we're flexible. If we're free and we're available, we'll do it.
Flexible is the phrase or the word of this pandemic, right?
That's the thing, right? I mean, what else do you do? We can't not offer programming. There's a need for it. And people, even with our conference, with our Stand for Change, with our Upstander, we got so many emails, and we're continuing to get so many emails from educators and administrators and mental health workers in the schools saying, you are going to continue to offer programming, right? Because we need it. We need it now, especially.
Jamie Green Kaniarz with us, the executive director of Defeat the Label, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast. So with that, as schools continue to be partially in person and partially virtual, and some hybrid systems, some that are entirely in person and some that are entirely virtual, how is Defeat the Label continuing that programming with schools of all of these varieties?
Whatever they need. So like I just mentioned, we traditionally don't start the Upstander program, which is our big one that's in the schools, until the end of October, beginning of November. And what we've told the schools that we work with, our partner schools and those that have inquired, whatever they need, we're willing to meet. So if they're in person and we can do so safely, we'll do the program in person. We'll offer it a hybrid version, and we'll absolutely do it virtually. So meeting the needs as they come.
And Jamie, do you have a website with tips or advice for parents, not only the ones who feel like maybe their child is being bullied, but also parents who maybe their child is the bully?
So on our website, defeatthelabel.com, we actually do have some signs that your child is being bullied or might be perpetrating the bullying behavior, which is always a hard conversation to have, and some tips and ways to address both of those.
Because when we're talking about a community conversation, I would imagine it's, like you said, it's almost easier if your child is being bullied as the victim. But if you're a parent, there could be such a wall around realizing that maybe your child is the one who is being the bully and impacting so many other people. So what can they do to try to have those conversations with their child to change their behavior? I mean, I would think it starts with recognizing that there is a problem.
Absolutely. Recognizing that there is a problem is probably the first step. I think it's a really, in all honesty, I think that in the entire situation of all the parties involved, that might be one of the roughest conversations or realizations, because I'm a parent no parent wants to hear their child is the problem. Their child is the bully. Nobody wants to hear that. No parent is proud of that. So that's definitely something that I think a lot of times takes parents by surprise. Looking at the reasons behind bullying, why bullies bully, is a really eye-opening moment for a lot of parents. Also looking at what is bullying, and making sure that we're all speaking the same language. Because I think sometimes we hear your child's being a bully, or that child's being a bully, or little Susie is being bullied, and the behavior that's taking place isn't actually bullying. That's a big part of what we do, is making sure that we're all using the same definition. You can have unkind behavior. You can have someone not being nice or doing something that is mean or unkind, and it's not necessarily bullying. It still needs to be addressed. It still needs to be worked on, but we don't want to say something is bullied if it's not. Something is bullying if it's not actual bullying. But yeah, for parents who are in the situation where their child is perpetrating that behavior, we usually suggest to them that they talk to their child, first of all, figure out what's going on, what's the root cause of the behavior, asking them if they realize, especially when we're talking about middle school students and upper elementary, if they realize what kind of behavior they're perpetrating, they're doing, if they know how it makes the other person feel. And then from there, depending on the situation, there are lots of different ways we can go. We recommend, in some situations, working with a mental health provider or a counselor. So a lot of the school districts have fantastic mediation teams that we can recommend to parents. So it's really a case-by-case situation.
And I would imagine, too, when you're talking about what is the difference between bullying and just being unkind, you get parents who might say, well, back in my day, that was just how it was done. And sometimes do these conversations need to be more about shifting a parent's mindset versus shifting a child's mindset?
Absolutely. And I think it goes both ways, in all honesty, based on what we've experienced. Yes, we get a lot of parents who say, well, back in my day, boys would be boys. And, you know, if somebody was doing that, you'd punch him. And then, you'd leave them alone.
You have a fight. You take them out to the schoolyard. You have a fight, and then we move on.
And then it's amazing to me, because even now I think I see in what is physical bullying, that actual fist fighting. A lot of times I still see that, or I'll hear it probably more than I'll see it, but they got into a fight and then they were fine. And it's just like, but they're not. So it is part of that. It's also, we get a lot of calls and conversations from parents who might feel like their child is being bullied. They'll use that word. The best example, and the one that we get frequently, especially at the beginning of the school year, in a normal school year where kids are in school, is my child is being bullied. My child is in kindergarten or first grade. And so we'll say, okay, what's going on? And they'll say, well, every day when my daughter is putting on her backpack at her cubby, the little boy next to her puts on his backpack, spins around, hits her, and runs away, like to catch his bus. And we'll say, okay, well, you know, part of bullying is it's the purposeful and aggressive behavior. So when we're talking about really young kids, it's really hard for them to have any purposeful behavior, let alone aggressive or mean purposeful behavior. I know what the outcome of this is going to be. I know it's going to make you feel bad, and I'm choosing to do it anyway. So sometimes it's just a matter of looking at a situation through fresh eyes, I think.
Educating the parents as much as the students on such an important topic. We appreciate having you on the show so much. Thank you for your time. Again, Defeat the Label. You're doing a virtual conference October 15th, and people can sign up, correctly?
Absolutely. Please do. Visit our website, defeatthelabel.com. They can register for free. It's going to be on Zoom, and we're also live streaming it on our Facebook event page, so the more the merrier. We have some amazing speakers. I am so excited about the wonderful speakers we have this year. And there will be opportunities to ask questions and engage. It's really going to be a fantastic program.
Well, thank you so much. We encourage all of the parents to sign up. A lot of it, like you said, it starts with the conversation, but also understanding the meaning and the language behind the wording that we are using. That's going to wrap it up for today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. For Tyler and myself, we want to say thank you and a big shout out again to Jake as well as Larry for all their help as well. This is the Oakland County Megacast.